The AJP PR7 is a fantastic off-road bike, but it's marketed as an adventure bike. So I took it on a 5,000 kilometer adventure trip down to Romania, a trip that I did on the T7 several times. So let's compare and find out, is the PR7 a travel adventure bike?
And you can bet on me. Look me in my eyes to tell you where I've been. I've been down the road and now I'm back again.
So the T7 needs no introduction, I guess. It's been on my adventures for 84,000 kilometers now, and a marvel in reliability. I would say this is a road bike that has been adapted to pretty well handle off-road. And the PR7, on the other hand, is from the other direction. It's more like an enduro or aggressive dual sport made adventure ready. So, and that basically is, we have the old school engine, 5,000 kilometer service intervals, relatively long, super comfortable seat where you can really spend long days. It's more comfortable than the T7 in that regard. It comes with the windscreen, the tower, the navigation and everything. And also, compared to the 690s or 701s, which has more enduro genes in a way, the wheelbase of this bike is a little bit longer, which makes it more stable on long stretches and covering distances. The goal of the trip was to ride the awesome trails of Romania, the mountain ridges and the valleys and all the trails that Romania has to offer, with a full camping luggage set up on the bike. We would transport down through Poland, from Sweden of course, through Slovakia, connecting to the Trans-Euro Trail in Hungary, then riding around 10-11 days in Romania, and then ride all the way back on the bike, as I've done on the T7 before. So why did I take the PR7? Basically, because it's a light bike. Romania is all about off-roading and trails, although they have the best asphalt roads and twisties and everything, if that's what you like. But I like off-road and challenges and stuff like that. And this bike is 45 kilos lighter than the T7 on a scale, but also it carries its weight much lower because you have the fuel down here by the foot pegs in the rear tanks, some great suspension and all of that. So the real question was it any good or comfortable spending all that time on the tarmac and twisties and highways? So let's go on the tarmac. It's some things are really good on the tarmac on this bike because you're pretty much sitting all the time. And the seat, as I mentioned, is super comfortable. It's something that you would pay 500 euros for if you want to upgrade to this level. So that's awesome. The wind protection is the same quality as on the T7 for me. I'm 180 centimeters, so it all differs depending on who you are. And just a traditional adventure position, really comfortable. But there are some negatives, I guess, for long hours sitting on the tarmac in high speeds. One is the foot pegs. Having this high ground clearance also has the foot pegs quite high up. Even if you lower them 5 centimeters, it would be higher than the normal adventure rider, I would say. So you sit more bent with the knees. But that didn't really cause any problems for me. Also, this is a bike intended for off-road, which means Let's try to stand up without anything else here. When you stand up, you have an aggressive standing position, which is what you want when you go off-road. You want to be here and not having the meerkat ADV position. So some would be tempted to put bar risers up there in order to have the meerkat position here, but that's useless except for stretching your legs. So yeah, so that is just something. There's no comfortable way to just stretch the legs. Using one hand on the handlebar, I could do that, but I don't want to ruin the great standing off-road position by adding bar risers. The engine lacks power when it comes to highway riding. So if you're going 100 kilometers an hour and you want to overtake that truck or something like that, you have to plan for it. It's not drop 1 or 2 gears and give it gas and you're flying around it. It's slowly going to pass. So there's no real punch in the engine like that. It's not a race engine. The engine is more like a tractor. You have this really low RPM power and grunt, and I think you can hear that on my videos that it's sort of in the lower ranges. Mostly. And I like to be there because I'm not racing. Another thing which is great for transporting is the gear number 6. I never use that unless I'm over 90 kilometers an hour. It's really an overdrive. So you can comfortably cruise at 120 kilometers an hour without feeling that you're straining the bike or anything. So that's a sign that, yeah, it's a travel bike or meant to go long stretches. It's highway capable and it does that comfortably, but not really fun. And then we have the Tarmac twisties. There's hands down, the T7 handles that much better because this is an off-road oriented bike with the long suspension travel. It's quite plush, so it's not a race suspension by any means. It floats over stuff, but it's quite soft. So if you're going in the twisties and you're braking, you're turning, you're going to do a lot of diving and sort of like a rocking horse movement like that. So you can have fun, but it's really not the best bike for that. So where it really shines is, of course, when the trails get a little bit rougher. So luggage. I had a full 18 kilos rackless system on here. I don't have any extra racks or anything, so it's just mounted on the bike. But 18 kilos doesn't sound much, and on a BMW 1300 GS Adventure, it wouldn't be noticed at all. So light or heavy, it all depends on the bike, because this is a light bike and the percentage of the weight increases, of course. So no real problems with these 18 kilos. I still have like 20-25 kilos lighter bike than on my T7 without luggage. So I'm not even up to the empty weight even. So it's still light, off-road capable like that, but On the highways and asphalt roads, if I sort of force the bike a bit, wobbling the handlebars, this feels a bit like jelly. So I could feel my tail of the bike sort of, wobbling a little bit, like if I had a tail like that. So it didn't really interfere. It didn't cause the bike to do some sort of unpleasant wobbling. As usual, as with most adventure bikes, the spring of the rear shock is always too weak. Riding without any luggage on it, it's quite good for me. I can set the sag, but with the luggage on with me, plus my electronics in a backpack and everything, I really weigh this bike down, and riding with it like this, even my half beam was sort of up in the sky. I set the preload to max, but for my next loaded trip with the luggage, I will have to upgrade the spring a little bit. Also on tarmac, of course, the lack of ABS is something you really have to train yourself and get used to. ABS is more safe on tarmac, especially if it's wet. And the rear brake of the AJP is so super sensitive. Coming from the T7, where you really have to push the pedal, you just think about moving your toe a little bit, it will break. So it's easy to lock your brakes, but then the momentum, the weight of the bike is lower, so the momentum you have is not as big, so it's easier to stop the bike. I've never locked my front wheel in panic. I've locked the rear, but it's really something you need to get used to. So let's talk about the engine, the economy and maintenance and stuff like that. This is an old school engine and you can smell it. Actually, literally going behind me, especially downhill on engine braking, my pal said, "Oh, it smells like petrol." And this engine is really rich in contrast to the new modern engines, which need to qualify for Euro 5 and Euro 6. They are really lean in the mixture, which means they get really hot and effective, I guess, with they use a little fuel. So, but this is rich and you can smell it, you notice it, it doesn't get hot that easily, and it's a bit thirsty. So it has a 17-liter fuel tank. T7 has 16, so they're almost the same. Same or my riding buddy was on a T7, and when we consumed almost the full tank and we fueled up at the fueling station, I regularly filled up 3 liters more than he did. So I consumed 3 liters more on that day, especially if we were pushing it. So 2 to 3 liters more. When I calculate range and stuff like that, going normal, doing a little off-road, but a mellow day, 5 liters per 100 kilometers approximately. Pinning it and having a little more fun day up in the mountains and climbs and being inspired, 7 liters per 100k approximately. I haven't learned how the fuel gauge works really. It shows how much is left when it starts blinking and stuff like that. So I reset the trip meter and I have this safety rule. Mellow day, 300 kilometers range easily and safely. If I'm up in the mountains, using the bike a bit more, heavy on the throttle, I just say 200 kilometers range, and then I go look for fuel. So that way I never ran out of fuel. So maintenance intervals, 5,000 kilometers, changed oil before I left. I managed to get home at 5,000 kilometers, so I changed when I got back. It's really simplistic engine. You can reach everything. I will do all the maintenance myself, so it's quite easy to just change the oil on the road also, and 5,000 kilometers is not every day really. Okay, so come back into the picture here. Two bikes, different bikes, same job, almost. This trip to Romania that we did focused on having as much fun on the Romanian trails as possible. It had a focus to ride off-road mainly. So go there, do that, come back home. So the question was mainly about the transport and the tarmac and highways and stuff like that. It did that beautifully. The trips I've done on the T7, although I ended up in places where it's quite rough, but the intention of those trips have been more cross-country, overlanding, in off-road situations of course, but the intention is not really to just go to countries and play around. It's more like exploring and things like that. Because in the off-road, I'd rather go on the AJP, and if that's the focus, that's the bike. To travel, more mix between tarmac and gravel and light off-road, T7 any day, reliable and everything, remains to be seen on this one. Performed good so far. So fun, trusty steed in a way. So yeah, that's my experience from this trip. I can't wait till I can go and have some fun somewhere again, and knowing that I don't have to trailer the bike there, I can just ride and so on. If you're interested in the AJP, have a look at my other videos, like when I bought it and assembled it and all of that, and some trips. The big Romania long documentary thing coming out soon, or if it's later, then it's here somewhere. Thank you for watching and spending some time here. Bye-bye.